Good afternoon, guys. My name is Jessica and I'm going to teach you today, or hopefully help improve your knowledge on, staircases. So I've managed to set up this board here. I was playing this guy, he's rubbish, and we ended up with a board like that. And I know the rack is just ignore the rack for now. This is a typical staircase board that occurs in typically lower division games, because I'm just going to say that players usually don't know how to get out of them, or their racks don't work with the normal ways to get out of them. And typically higher level players are going to play more than 3 and 4 letter words. Even though there is a nice kind of place to open the board out here, we're going to take this back a couple of turns to see how this situation could have potentially been avoided, and hopefully how in the future you can avoid these kind of boards and maybe your games won't turn out so staircase. So we've taken this back to this move here, this choice of WAP that apparently I made, because yeah. So if we get rid of WAP, we can see the board itself it's starting to resemble a staircase. You know, we have it's not yet cut off to the end of the board. We've got a decent rack. It doesn't make a bonus, but we've got to consider how to make it open. So one of the problems with the choice of WAP is that it continues the theme of the staircase. And when you're playing a staircase board, you just don't want to do that. You just want to, even if you have to sacrifice points to prevent the staircase, do it. Because if you don't try and prevent the staircase, you're just going to end up in so many problems later on. Like, as you can see, there's just going to be nowhere to play. You need to do something else to change the way the board is going, so that at some point later in the game you're going to have a chance to score and win and at least do something with the board. So the kind of move I would suggest is making a kind of fork play. And this kind of fork play comes in the form of something like prawn. Now, even though this play still opens out for, staircase creating along row 4, row 3, it creates a fork where you could play down column L or column N, which opens out the lower quadrant of the board, and this is really important because you've taken the first step to prevent the staircase. And the longer you can kind of keep going without creating the staircase, the more chance you're going to have that the board is not going to end up like a staircase. So if you can't see the moves right now, but WAP scores 26 points and prawn gets 27. It's a 1 point difference, and obviously prawn is a lot more open. But if you're able to make use of the hooks, and you're able to play to play these fork moves, like I'm saying, you're gonna have your chance to open the board up. Now this is just for this quadrant of the board up here, and maybe this right hand side of the board. There are also plenty of other ways to open up on this board. You also have the option of playing something like Pawner down column D. Now of course we've still got the staircase possibility in row 11, 12, 13, even down row C, from here, and then keep going down again. But Pawner, like Prawn, creates this fork. So you're opening up the top left quadrant of the board, so maybe your opponent will make a play to the triple across row 8, or maybe play down column E, or even C. You're opening out the quadrant of the board, and ideally that's what you have to do to avoid the staircases. So also we've got the hooks for some of the words already on the board. So we could play something like ripen. Now we are sacrificing so many points to play a word like ripen, but just like prawn, it opens out this lower quadrant of the board. And even though you could still create staircase possibilities in the lower right quadrant of the board, you're giving yourself you're breaking that typical staircase that occurs in a staircase shape, just down the board. It's essentially copying moves as you go down the board. And ripen, even though it's not really a fork play, it breaks that pattern of plays which typically you will see in a staircase. So after a play like ripen, you might expect your opponent to play down column L, or even just parallel underneath at row 12. And even though row 12 will then create another staircase, you've at least got this S hook here for donors. You know, you've still got other places to go. But the key thing is that you have broken the staircase. You've prevented the pattern from repeating itself. And once you've stopped that pattern from going on, the board tends to open up quite a bit more. So after a play like ripen, a typical lower division opponent would probably play a 3-letter word from 12k, or 4k, or 11d. That's the typical play that I would expect to see from a lower division player. The difference why top division players don't get so many of these staircase boards is because they typically see longer words than 3-letter words. And when they are forced to play 3-letter words, they will try and combat that with their knowledge of longer words. They will try to make openings, they will try to encourage something to happen on the board. So rather than a D division player or a lower division player going for points all the time because their racks just don't help with the board, an A division player or a top division player aims to be proactive in the way that they do things. So while you may not see these boards as regularly as you think, utilising either of the rows by creating a fork play or perpendicular play, depending on what you choose to call them, is going to really help to creating more open boards. Now what I haven't explained yet is why we want a more open board. Open boards allow for a better chance to bonus, and when you got a better chance to bonus, you've got a better chance to score more points, you've got a better chance to win. Provided you're picking up those bonuses, of course. But at the same time, creating the more open board, it means there are so many other places to play on a board. Now, typically a lower division opponent would have slightly weaker skills in board vision. And having board vision is really important because you find the plays that somebody else might not see, like a play that fits in really well, or a setup play. And on these kind of staircase boards, there's really only two options, and that's continuing the staircase. And you don't want to do that. I have played my fair share of staircase boards and they suck. But creating the fork plays just prevents the staircase from carrying on. So, I guess we'll play Pawner, and even though it's a human opponent next, with their rubbish rack, beautiful. This may not be CSW 12, but just getting my magical list out, because if this was CSW 12, your opponent could then play something like Yagi, whatever it is, and that immediately will open up this section of the board. It just, you could see how much the play of Pawner has already changed the board. I'm just going to accept the play anyway because oh no, go back. The perils of playing a video. It wasn't challenged off. It's an actual word now. Yeah. But you can see how the players just opened up the board. So, next typical play is probably something like Raw. But still, the board is more open. The board has... There's just more you can do on the board. Whereas if you're carrying on this staircase, you just lose all the variability of the board. It's just stuck in its typical form. And it just sucks. I mean, there's no other way to describe a staircase. And often when you're learning the game in the lower divisions, you typically prioritise your learning of bonuses. But bonuses are no good if you're stuck on staircases all the time. And there's probably one other thing I need to mention about these staircases, and it's that you can't really escape them unless you learn the hooks to 3-letter words. Now, like I said, staircases are typically made up of 3- and 4-letter words. If you don't know the hooks to these 3- and 4-letter words, you're not going to be able to escape the perils of the staircase. So what if I didn't know that rote took a W in front? It can happen. But if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to escape the staircase. Same with gal. If I didn't know it took an A, an E, an L, among other things, maybe I wouldn't be able to play perpendicular or create that fork whereby I would be able to escape the staircase and make the board a much more viable image to bonus on. So I'm going to summarise basically what I've just said, hopefully. It's a really short video, not meant to be anything. So, number 1, staircases, they're horrible. Just avoid them completely. Number 2, Fuzzy, what is it? No, he's not got it. He didn't learn anything. So number 2 is play a fork or perpendicular. Doing that creates the fork, which enables you to play in a different direction and opens up sections of the board that you can then use later in the game, and you've got places where you don't have to carry on the staircase. And third rule, learn your hooks to those short words, because the short words are really important and that's what make up most of the staircases, but if you don't know the hook to them, you won't be able to escape these staircases. And knowing the hooks is so crucial, and you'll find that even in top division games, learning the hooks to your 3-letter words is still super important. So I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope that you did learn something from my rubbish experience of staircases, and I will hopefully be producing more of these videos about lower division strategy and how we can possibly improve that strategy over time, or how you could potentially benefit from perhaps tweaking your strategy or playing a different way. So, my name is Jessica. This is Fuzzy, or Fuzzy Wuzzy number 2, as he's called in my Quackle file, and we will see you next time.